Aloha, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Ocean Moonflower Show. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Before we get into today's topic, I want to take just a moment to acknowledge something. Whether you've been listening since episode 1 or you've been watching my YouTube channel for the last 8 years, you've already been on quite a journey with me. We talked about synchronicity, about the way the universe speaks to us through meaningful coincidence, about signs and patterns and the strange, beautiful timing of things that arrive precisely when they're needed. Last week, we went deep into manifestation, into the gap between what we consciously want and unconsciously believe, and why closing the gap is the actual work. But today, we're going somewhere much older. Dare I say ancient? We're going to be talking about the runes. Now, this is something near and dear to my heart due to my own personal heritage. And I know that for some of you, that word runes lands with immediate recognition. Something in you already knows what this is. You've felt drawn to these symbols without quite knowing why. You've seen them somewhere and something stirred. Maybe you've been working with them for years, or you just picked up a set and then put them down because nobody gave you a real way in. And for others of you, runes might feel like unfamiliar territory, perhaps a slightly intimidating, or even associated with a particular cultural image that doesn't feel quite like yours. I want you to set all of that aside today and offer you something different. I want to offer you the runes as what I genuinely believe they are, which is one of the oldest, most honest, most deeply human spiritual languages that has ever existed on this earth. And I don't want to start out with history or definitions. Let's talk about a feeling. You know me, I always go to the feeling, right? Have you been to an Ocean Moonflower podcast or not? You know that we go to the feelings. Because I think the feeling is actually where this begins for most people. It's that pull, the sense of something old being recognized by someone new or something new. I don't think it's a coincidence that you're here today. So, let's get started, shall we? I want to tell you something about the runes that most introductions skip entirely. The runes are not a system someone invented. They're not a spiritual practice someone designed and packaged and offered out to the world. It's not something that just suddenly appeared on Amazon. According to the ancient Norse tradition, the runes were not created. They were discovered and received. There is a crucial difference between those two things, and I think it matters more than most people realize. The Eddic myth, which is the body of sacred Norse poetry and story that carries the oldest versions of these teachings, tells us that dear old Odin, the All-Father, hung himself on Yggdrasil, the world tree, for 9 days and 9 nights. He hung there without food, without water, without comfort, wounded by his own spear, peering down into the depths of the well beneath the roots of the tree. And on the 9th night, the runes rose up to meet him. He reached down, grasped them, and fell. I'm not asking you to take that as literal history. What I'm asking you to consider is the sacred story encoded in it. The runes were not received through ease. They were received through genuine sacrifice, an ordeal, and a willingness to hang in the dark in pain without answers until something rose up from the depths to meet the seeker. Does this sound familiar to any of you? To me, it sounds like every spiritual awakening I have ever witnessed or experienced, or heard about from the many people that I've worked with over the years. It sounds like the dark night of the soul, like grief, like the moment when everything you thought was solid turned out not to be. And what did you have to do? You had to hang there in the uncertainty until something real finally surfaced. Does it remind you of a card in tarot, perhaps? The Hanged Man? The runes were born from that kind of deep honesty. I think that's part of why they have survived for over 2,000 years when so many other systems have not. The runes carry something real, not promising easy answers. They're not going to tell you what you want to hear. They show you what is actually there, in the same way that the world tree showed Odin not what he wished to see, but what genuinely was. The word rune itself comes from a Germanic root that means something along the lines of mystery or secret or whispered counsel. Not really like a letter or a symbol in an ordinary sense. It's more like a mystery or a whisper from something older, deeper than ordinary language can reach. These symbols were carved into stone, into bone, into the hulls of boats and the handles of weapons, and on the doorposts of homes by people who understood themselves to be in genuine conversation with the forces of existence. They weren't performing any kind of rituals or a prescribed religious practice. It was a form of talking and listening to what was actually responding. And the conversation of the runes is still available to you today. They didn't stop speaking when the world modernized. They may have gone quiet for a while, but they're getting louder again right now for a lot of people in this particular season. And it doesn't appear to be an accident that that's happening. It means something. So I think the fact that you're listening right now might mean something too. So let me give you a foundation for what we're working with, because I think a lot of confusion about the runes come from people encountering them without understanding what kind of thing they actually are. They're not an alphabet. Yes, they were used for writing in the Germanic and Norse world for centuries, but that was secondary. The sacred function of the runes comes first, and each rune in and of itself is a force of nature, a principle of existence, a doorway into a specific dimension of human and universal experience. They map the world, but not the physical world as you know it, the deep world, the world of archetypal forces that shape everything that happens in the physical world. The system we work with most commonly today is the Elder Futhark, named after its first 6 runes. It contains 24 runes, and it's the oldest and most complete runic system we have, dating back at least to the 2nd century of the Common Era, though many scholars believe the oral and energetic tradition goes considerably farther back than that. The Elder Futhark runes are organized into 3 groups of 8, and each carries its own thematic territory. The first one moves through the forces of the natural world of abundance and strength and creative fire, while the second moves through challenge and initiation and the forces that transform us, whether we ask to be transformed or not. And the third moves towards completion, self-knowledge, the sacred, and the ancestral inheritance that connects us to everything that came before. Think of them as the 3 chapters in a single story. And that story is of a human life lived fully, with all of its gifts and all of its ordeals and all of its gradual movement toward wisdom. There's a concept that I think we need to introduce here, because It's one of the most useful ideas in the entire Norse worldview, and it changes how you work with the runes once you understand it. It's called the wyrd, W-Y-R-D, and it's the Norse understanding of fate, which is significantly more sophisticated than the simple idea of a fixed destiny that we kind of prescribe to now. The wyrd is not a predetermined script that you're following, whether you like it or not. It's more like a web, a vast, living, constant, moving web, and not the Spider-Man kind. Anybody going to see Spider-Man at the end of the month? I know we are. Not the Spider-Man kind of web, but it's more like a vast, living, constant, moving web, woven by every action ever taken, by every ancestor who ever lived, by every choice you make in every moment, and by the larger forces of existence that are always in motion around and through you. Does this sound like energy to you? The way energy transforms and moves through the world, through each and every one of us, by the choices that we make and the things that we do? You, my dear one, are a part of that very web. You're woven into it. And the threads that connect you to your ancestors, to the land, to the forces at work in your life right now are all visible if you know how to look for them. And the runes are the language for reading that web, for predicting, not for predicting a fixed outcome. It's more for understanding the current shape of the weaving of that energy and where your own thread is being called to go. That's where tarot and runes are so different. Runes have to do with all of that energetic work within you, with your destiny, with your direction, with your life purpose, the things that are so deeply rooted and important to each of us. Whereas tarot, it answers questions to problems. It helps people to find their own solutions to the things that they're dealing with. That's why I love runes so deeply. They speak so deeply. They touch people's soul in a very unique way. So now let's actually meet the runes. So before we get into more information about runes in general, let's talk about each of them individually. Now, just to be clear, I'm not a linguist. So if I butcher the name of a rune, show me some grace. I'm doing my best. All right, so I'm going to take you through the 24 runes of the Elder Futhark today. This is not so that you can have a list of keywords or a dictionary meaning. I want you to pause after each one and really feel the character of it. In fact, look up a chart of the Elder Futhark as I'm mentioning them, and then pause after each one. Feel the feeling that you feel from the meaning of that particular rune. Understand the kind of force that it represents, the kind of moment in a human life that it may speak to. And trust where that lands for you as we move through them. Your intuition is already doing the work, and you have to learn how to trust it. So we begin the first of the three, shall we say, stories of the runes. We begin with Fehu. This particular rune is a rune of cattle. What was cattle once considered? The essence of wealth and abundance, was it not? So the rune of cattle is a flowing abundance of wealth that moves rather than sits still. The ancients understood that abundance circulates, feeds, nourishes, and multiplies when it flows. Yet it stagnates when it's hoarded. So Fehu arrives in your reading. Ask yourself where the energy in your life is flowing freely and where it is being held too tightly. Uruz is next, and that's spelled U-R-U-Z. Fehu was F-E-H-U. So Uruz is next. This is the ancient ox. which is now extinct in the physical world, but alive in this rune. And it represents primal strength. Not the kind of strength that you see when you're referring to applying force or domination, but that deep, undomesticated vitality of a living creature fully inhabiting its very own nature. Uruz asks you where you're allowing yourself to be fully and unapologetically alive. Now, this one I'm probably going to butcher. Thorsaz is the thorn. So it's Thurisaz. Thorisaz is the thorn, the giant. The force that can wound and protect at the same time, often in the same gesture. This particular rune carries an edge. It's not comfortable, but it's honest. And when it appears, something in your situation has an edge that needs to be respected rather than softened. Next up is Anzuz, Ansuz. This is the rune of divine breath, of Odin's gift of language and inspiration, of the messages that arrive from beyond the ordinary thinking mind. Think dreams and signs, the sudden knowing that comes out of nowhere. Anzuz is the rune of synchronicity in written form. It says for you to pay attention because something is trying to reach you right now. Next up, Raido. I just like to say that. Raido. I'm not good at rolling my R's. It's spelled Raidho, pronounced Raido. It is the rune of the sacred journey, of right movement, of the path that opens when you're genuinely in alignment with your own wyrd. Fate, right? We talked about that. Not just any journey, but the right one. And Raido asks whether you're moving in the direction that's truly yours, or whether you're following someone else's road because it seemed safer or even more familiar. Kanaz, spelled Kenaz, is the torch of uncontrolled fire, the light of understanding. Where Uruz is wild vitality, Kanaz is creative intelligence applied with skill. It's the rune of craftsmanship, the healer, the artist who has learned to work with fire rather than simply being burned by it. It speaks of the inner flame that lights the way through darkness where every external light has gone out. Next up, Gebo. G-E-B-O is the gift. And in Norse tradition, a gift was never simply a transaction. Every gift creates a bond. And every true offering calls for reciprocity. So Gebo asks about the sacred exchanges in your life. Where are you giving and receiving in balance? Where is the balance off? And why? Wunjo, W-U-N-J-O, Wunjo, closes his first set of runes with joy. True joy. Joy of belonging, of kinship, of feeling yourself in the right relationship with people and purpose. Wunjo is not the frantic happiness of constant stimulation. It's quiet, deep satisfaction of a life that fits the soul that's inhabiting it. That is absolutely beautiful. So that's our first set of 8. The second begins with the runes of initiation. So I want you to really hear what I'm about to say, because these runes are not bad. Some people may see them that way, but they're not. There are no bad runes. The runes are calling for transformation, which means they show up when life is asking you to grow in ways that are definitely not fucking comfortable. So we start with Hagalaz. 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 Hagalaz is the hailstorm, the sudden disruption from forces outside of your control. A storm that arrives without warning and changes the landscape of your life. Hagalaz doesn't apologize. Not at all. It can clear the way, though. And what grows in the aftermath of a hailstorm is more vital than what was there before. That's important to note and remember when Hagalaz shows up. Now this is need. That's Naudhiz. It's constraint, friction of genuine difficulty, and in the Norse tradition, this friction was understood as the source of fire. The way that rubbing two sticks together produces the spark that warms and feeds a community. Naudhiz says, the difficulty you're in right now is producing something, so you must stay conscious and stay in it. Then we have Isa. Isa, spelled Isa, is ice. What does ice represent? Pure stillness. The pause that feels like an obstruction, but it's necessary preparation. Ice holds things in place until the season is right for that movement. But there's also movement going on under the surface. If you see ice on a lake, underneath, there's still life occurring underneath the ice. So when Esau appears, the right response is rarely to push harder. It's to take that pause and wait with quality. Use the stillness for the inner work that movement tends to interrupt. And then we have Yera, spelled Jera. Yera is the harvest. When the cycle is completed, there's an understanding that results require their full season to develop and cannot be rushed unless you want there to be damage. So when Yera appears, one of the most encouraging runes in the deck, people who've been doing the work and are wondering whether it's actually producing anything, it is. That harvest is coming. You just have to trust the cycle. And then we have Ehwaz. Ehwaz. Eihwaz. This is the yew tree. It's ancient and deeply rooted, standing at the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead. The yew lives for thousands of years. It's both poisonous and medicinal. So Ehwaz is the rune of the threshold, of passage, of moving from one state of being to another in ways that cannot be undone. When this rune appears, something is ending, so something else can begin. Next up, Perthro. Perthro. Perthro is perhaps the most mysterious rune in the Elder Futhark. Its exact original meaning is debated by many scholars. What it is consistently pointing towards in practice is the unknown. Fate. What is hidden, what is being revealed. The cauldron of wyrd, W-Y-R-D, from which all possibilities can emerge. Perthro doesn't tell you what will happen. It tells you what is unfolding is larger than your current ability to see it. And that trust is the only intelligent response. Algiz is next. A-L-G-I-Z. I probably butchered that one. Algiz is protection. The elk's antlers raised against danger. a connection between the human and the divine that creates a field of genuine spiritual protection around those who maintain it. Algae speaks of the higher self, of the aspect of you that is always in contact with something greater. I love this rune because it's an invitation to strengthen that connection. Sowilo, Sowilo, Sowilo is the sun, the victory, the life force at its most radiant and most directed. Where Kenaz is the torch that lights the immediate path, Sowilo is the full sun of achievement. It's the rune of the person who has done the work, moved through the initiations, and is now moving toward the life their soul came here to live. Isn't that a beautiful ending to our second group of runes? Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. So now our third group of runes moves into the sacred, the ancestral, and the completion of the human journey. We start off with Tiwaz, is the rune of the god Tyr, who sacrificed his hand so that the great wolf Fenrir could be bound and the cosmos could be protected. This rune is of justice, of sacrifice in service of something larger than personal gain, of the courage required to do what is right even at personal cost. Berkano, Berkano, Berkano is the birch tree. And when we see the birch tree, this is new life emerging from the earth after winter. Birth literally and figuratively. Beginnings that are so tender and need protection while they find their strength. Berkano is deeply connected to the sacred feminine, to the body's wisdom, to the kind of growth that happens quietly and in the dark before it ever becomes visible. Ehwaz, E-H-W-A-Z, not to be confused with Ehwaz, E-I-H-W-A-Z, but Ehwaz, kind of, you got to pronounce it kind of like echo, Ehwaz is the horse. Specifically, Ehwaz is the sacred partnership between the horse and the rider, two beings working in trust and attunement that they move as one. So Ehwaz speaks of partnership, of co-creation, of the relationship between your conscious will and your deeper self. When this rune appears, ask where that inner partnership is working and where there's friction between rider and horse. Manaz, M-A-N-N-A-Z, is humanity itself. This is the rune of self-knowledge, of our place within the larger human story, and of the understanding that we are both individual and collective simultaneously. Manaz asks the deepest of the personal questions. Who are you really? Not those roles that you play or the story that you tell other people, but who are you? Laguz, L-A-G-U-Z, is water. It's our next rune, which represents the unconscious. The vast, moving, sometimes terrifying depth of the inner world that the rational mind can't fully map. Laguz asks you to trust what you can't fully see, to flow rather than force, to let the current carry you when your own navigation has reached its limits. Ingwaz, I-N-G-W-A-Z, is the seed held in sacred gestation. The potential that has not yet broken through the surface. Oh, this is so awesome, isn't it? There's a specific quality of peace in Ingwaz. The peace of something that is genuinely complete at the energetic level and simply hasn't manifested into physical form yet. Which is what we were talking about in our last 2 episodes. This rune says it's already real. It's just not yet visible. And then we have Dagaz, Dagaz. Dagaz is the dawn. that threshold between darkness and light, which is held in perfect balance. That balance because it's not quite the darkness and it's not quite the light. I mean, kind of think of the yin yang, right? The exact moment of turning. Dagaz is the rune of breakthrough, of the moment when the dark night of the soul reaches its turning point and something new becomes possible. And then our Elder Futhark closes with one rune, Othala, the ancestral homeland. It's also been pronounced Othila, so Othila, Othala, the inheritance. Everything that has been passed down to you through blood and soul. Your gifts, wounds, patterns, and even your wisdom. Othala asks you to honor what you carry from those who came before, to receive the gifts with gratitude and heal the wounds with courage, so that what you pass forward is richer than what you received. Isn't that absolutely fucking beautiful? The way these 24 runes work together to guide each and every person through every possible journey and passage of their lifetime, through the difficulties and the struggles, through the positive movements and what they might mean for you and for your future. 24 forces of existence, each one a doorway unto itself. And the person who learns to work with these doorways as a genuine living practice has access to a form of wisdom that has been tested by thousands of years of actual human life. So let's talk about the people who worked with these runes, because I think it matters enormously for how we approach this practice today. The popular image of the Norse world is warriors and battles and dramatic mythology. And yes, all of that was part of it. The everyday reality of the people who lived with these runes was so much quieter and much closer to the bone of actual human experience. They were farmers, healers, parents, community elders. People who faced the same fundamental human challenges that we face today: illness, loss, difficult decisions, a search for meaning and purpose, and belonging. They worked with the runes because the runes worked. It's not like magic in a fairy tale sense, but more like a tool for staying in conscious relationship with the forces that were shaping their lives, for making decisions with wisdom rather than just with personal preference, and understanding which season of life they were in and what that season was asking of them in that moment. These are questions we all could use today. They did something that I think we've largely lost in the modern world, which is that they understood their ancestors as genuinely present with them. Not as just historical figures that need to be remembered and appreciated from a distance, but actually present, actually available, invested in the well-being of living people who carried their blood and their soul into the next lifetime. I don't know about you, but if you work in any aspect of spirituality today along the lines of the things that we've been talking about over the 8 years, you've got to recognize that those ancestors are always with you. And all you need to do is call on them for guidance, to recognize their presence. In virtually every ancient tradition across the world, the ancestors are not gone. They're simply moved into a different relationship with time and with the physical plane. They carry wisdom earned through lives that were fully lived, mistakes that were made, lessons that were learned through genuine consequence. And that wisdom is available to us if we know how to ask for it. Working with the runes is one of the most direct available pathways into that ancestral wisdom stream. The runes themselves are an ancestral inheritance They came through thousands of years of hands and hearts and engagement with the deep forces of life. Every person who ever worked with these symbols, whoever held Othala in their hand and felt the weight of everything it carries, is part of the chain of transmission that reaches all the way forward to you right now in this moment. If you're still with me now in this podcast, you may be feeling that call right now. I think about this when I hold my own runes, the hands that held these symbols long before my own, and the questions that those hands were carrying, the courage it took to ask humbly for wisdom from something larger than personal understanding, something unseen. There's a concept in the Norse tradition that I find beautiful, and it's the idea of the fetch, the spiritual companion that accompanies each person through their life and across generations. Some traditions understand this as what we might call a guardian spirit or a higher self, or even a guiding ancestor. What's significant is the understanding that you have never been alone in this ever. You've always been accompanied. The fetch, the guardian, the ancestral presence that walks with you has always been there, whether or not you're aware of it. Working with the runes strengthens that awareness because it's a practice of learning to sense the companionship that has always been present, to feel that energetic web of connection that links you to every life that has come before yours, and to trust that the wisdom available through that energetic web is real and personal and genuinely available to you. We live in an era of extraordinary disconnection. The modern world has gotten away from the land, from the seasons, from the longer arc of human experience. Dare say even from each other in the deep way, the way where you know your neighbors and your community knows your name and your struggles and your gifts. Runes are an invitation back into that longer arc. We can't romanticize the past and pretend that it was simpler or better than it was, because we are certainly blessed in modern times. But we should remember that we come from something, and that we're not starting from nothing. That wisdom required to navigate this particular moment in history is not something that we have to invent from scratch. It's in the bones, the blood, the stones, and the trees, and the turn of the seasons. And it's in the runes. I want to give you something practical now, because I think the runes are most valuable when they're a living daily practice rather than an intellectual interest. There are many ways to work with them, so I want to talk you through the ones that I find most useful. The simplest, and I believe the most powerful entry point, is the single daily rune. Each morning, before you fully enter the momentum of the day, hold your bag of runes in both hands, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and ask a simple question. Not like the kind of question you would ask a tarot reading, but more something like this. What do I most need to understand today? Or perhaps, what force is most active in my life right now? Or you could go very simply to, what do the ancestors want me to know? Then reach in without looking at the runes, without feeling around to try to find a particular one, and just draw one rune. Here's where I want to offer you something important. Resist the immediate urge to look up the meaning. Before you even open a book or search your phone, spend at least a few minutes simply looking at the symbol, feeling the feeling that you have while holding the rune in your hand. What arises in your body when you hold it? Notice whether it feels expansive or contracting, warm or cool, familiar or strange. This is your intuition at play, and your body knows the things your analytical mind hasn't caught up to yet. And the first felt response to a rune is genuinely valuable information. Keep it in a daily journal. And then go through your day with the rune in awareness. Don't obsess about it, looking for every possible confirmation of the rune's meaning, but gently be present with that energy. And at the end of the day, before you go to sleep, return to it. Ask what showed up today that illuminated this rune. How did its energy move through the events and conversations and interior moments of your day? Sometimes the answer is immediate and obvious. Sometimes it takes 3 days of carrying the same rune before its relevance becomes clear. Both are fine. Over time, the daily practice builds something remarkable. You develop a personal relationship with each rune that goes far beyond what any book can give you. I recommend you do the same thing with the tarot for my tarot readers, because it's grounded in your own experience of how that rune's energy actually moves through your specific life. Now, beyond the single daily draw, you can cast runes for specific questions using a small spread of 3 runes for a past, present, and guidance reading, or a larger casting onto a cloth where the position and relationship of the runes to each other forms the reading. Now, I personally prefer to do a casting on a cloth, whether it's a 9 rune casting or a full rune casting. That's my preference, but I've been reading tarot since 1993, and I've been reading runes for a very long time. And so when I am looking at my casting cloth, I'm already seeing the positions and the relationships of the runes. So if that doesn't feel comfortable for you, just try the 3 runes. Reach into the bag, pick out 1 for past, reach into the bag, pick out 1 for present, and reach into the bag and pick out a 3rd as your guidance rune. You can meditate with a specific rune, holding it physically or visualizing its symbol, allowing its energy to teach you directly. You can carry a specific rune during a specific season of your life, wearing it or keeping it close. Some people use an ink pen and draw it on their wrist so they can see it. You don't have to go that far, but that's just one way people do carry the runes with them. You can carry a specific rune during that season of your life as a way of consciously working with its energy over an extended time. Now let's talk about the runes and shadow work, because we know that 8 runes alone walk you through that shadow work, and that connection to the runes is very significant in that time. Now we saw that in that second group of runes. Hagalas, Nauthis, Isa, Bertho, Lagus. These runes point into difficulty, into the unconscious, into the forces that operate beneath the surface of ordinary awareness. They're absolutely not comfortable runes to receive. I'm not going to sugarcoat that shit. But they're some of the most valuable runes to receive. Because when one of these arrives in a daily draw, it invites you to ask, what does it really mean in your life? What is this showing you that you've been avoiding? What old program is active right now? What would you see if you stopped managing your way around that rune and actually looked directly at it? The runes don't judge what they find. They simply show it. And that quality of honest, non-judgmental reflection is exactly what shadow work requires. Now, one more thing I want to say about working with runes, and this is something that took me a while to really understand. The runes are not a system for getting answers, right? Tarot is, yeah. Runes are a system for developing the quality of perception that allows you to find your own answers more reliably. Because every time you draw a rune and sit with it, you're strengthening the exact capacity we talked about in the episode on synchronicity. The ability to notice the meaningful within the ordinary, to trust the quiet inner knowing that speaks beneath the noise of daily life. The runes can make you a better reader of your own life. And that, I think, is the most valuable thing any spiritual practice can do. So let's spend a few minutes here in the most mystical territory of today's episode. The heart of where this conversation lives. If the ancestors who worked with these runes, the healers, the seers, the mothers and fathers, and elders who carved these symbols into wood and stone and bone, if they could speak directly to you right now, what would they say? I've thought about this a lot. Many of you know that I work strongly with my ancestors, and I am very much a psychic medium, although I don't advertise that dramatically. So I've thought about this a lot. And here's what I believe they would want you to know. They would say one thing, and this is often the thing that many a passed on loved one guides the medium, and you'll notice this in many of the psychic mediums across the country and across the world, really, to say to you. They would say this: you're not alone. Whatever you're carrying right now, whatever difficulty you're navigating, whatever darkness you're moving through, you're not the first one to deal with that. Every grief you're feeling has been felt before. Every threshold you're standing at has been crossed before. Every moment where the path forward seems invisible has been survived before. You carry in your blood and in your soul the accumulated experience of every generation that came before you. You're not starting from nothing. You never were. You're not alone. The ancestors would say the earth remembers even when you don't. The old ways did not disappear when the modern world arrived. They went underground. The way seeds go underground in winter, not dying but waiting for the season when they'd be needed again. And that season may just be right now. The fact that you're drawn to this work, that something in you recognizes the runes even if your mind has never formally encountered them, is itself a form of remembering. Trust that recognition. It's older than your intellect and more reliable than your doubt. I would believe that the ancestors would say one other thing to you. Your wounds are not only yours. Some of what you carry belongs to the ancestors too. The patterns that seem to repeat without clear cause. Those fears that feel too large to have been created in a single lifetime. The grief that sometimes has no clear origin in your own personal story. Some of these are the unfinished business of the people who came before you, carried forward through the wyrd, W-Y-R-D, into your life. Once again, that's fates, remember? Asking to be fully healed. Oftentimes, you will see in modern day viewpoints, they see this as a burden, carrying the ancestral wounds or the ancestral difficulties, a burden. But it doesn't have to be. When you do your inner work, when you clear a wound that has been carried through generations, you're not just healing yourself, you're healing backward through the lineage and forward through it simultaneously. The ancestors, I got chills on that. The ancestors who carried that wound in unhealed form are lightened by your healing. And the descendants who would have inherited it from you are freed from having to carry it at all. Wow, that is the gift of shadow work in the context of ancestral practice. You're not just doing this for yourself, you're doing it for everyone connected to you through the energetic web of the wyrd. Every generation in both directions. The ancestors would also say to trust what is old in you, that part of you that knows without knowing how, that part that feels the pull of the seasons, that responds to the moon without thinking, that recognizes certain symbols and certain places and people with an immediacy that precedes thought. That part's not your imagination. It's the deep self, the ancestral self, the self that has been here long before this particular lifetime and will continue long after it. My intuitive folks, my light workers, my starseeds, my twin flames, all of you out there that are part of my YouTube channel that make up any part of that grouping know what this feels like. Working with the runes strengthens your relationship with that part of yourself. It gives you new information. It reminds you of what you already knew in a way that a song you haven't heard in years can suddenly bring back everything about a specific summer or a feeling or a version of yourself that you had almost forgotten existed. The runes remember. And working with them, you remember too. Before I close today, I want to spend a few moments on something I think is important and worth saying clearly. The runes come from a specific cultural and historical context, the Germanic and Norse people of Northern Europe. And in recent decades, runic symbolism has been misappropriated by groups, and it has been understandably made by some people wary of working with those symbols at all. So I want to address this directly. I think abandoning an ancient and genuinely wise spiritual tradition because it has been misused by hateful people is doing exactly what those people want. Working with the runes is not a cultural identity claim. You don't need Norse ancestry to work with the runes, any more than you need to be Indian to practice yoga or Egyptian to study the tarot, which itself has ancient Egyptian roots. Spiritual wisdom is not the exclusive property of any single ethnic or national group. It belongs to all humanity, because all of humanity is descended from people who had their own sacred practices and their own systems of meaning and their own forms of genuine connection with the deep forces of existence. What working with the runes does require is respect. Approaching the system with curiosity and humility rather than as a fashion or as an aesthetic. Learning the actual tradition rather than only the surface symbols. Understanding that these are sacred objects to the people who originated them. They're not decorative motifs. Actively rejecting any version of runic practice that is used to promote hate, exclusion, or the idea that any group of human beings is inherently more valuable than any other is important. Ancestral wisdom encoded in the runes belongs to all of us who are willing to approach it honestly and to use it in genuine service of healing, growth, and the kind of deep self-knowledge that makes us more loving and more present in the world. That's the practice that I'm inviting you into with this podcast. And it's an invitation that is genuinely open to everyone. The runes have been waiting, not for a specific kind of person, more for a specific quality of attention. That of honesty, openness, humbleness about how much we don't know and how much there is still to learn. Be willing to sit in the dark of the world tree for 9 nights if that's what it takes to receive something real. You don't need to become an expert in Norse mythology to work with these runes. You don't need to read every academic text on the Elder Futhark. You simply need a set of runes, a question, or a willingness to be surprised by what arrives, and the patience to let the answer come in the rune's own time rather than yours. So this week's invitation is this. Find one rune that calls to you as you think back over what we covered today. Not the most impressive one, nor the one that seems very dramatic, but the one that felt like something when I said its name. Draw it, hold it, carry it. Let it show you across the next few days what it actually means in the context of your specific life. That's how the relationship with the runes begins, with one rune and one question, one willingness to actually listen for the answer. Next week on the show, we're talking about spirit guides, ancestors, once again in a different context, and guardians, who walks beside you. Because after today's conversation about the ancestral wisdom carried in the runes, it's a natural and genuinely beautiful next step to talk about the specific beings themselves, the guides and guardians and ancestors who are walking this path personally alongside you. Don't you forget that you're not alone. So we're going to be talking about them as a real and felt relationship that you can develop and strengthen and trust. That one is going to be a powerful episode, my love, so I hope you'll be there. Thank you for spending this time with me today, beautiful souls. If something in this episode stirred something old in you, trust that stirring. It's the ancestral self recognizing something it's always known. Share this episode with someone who's been feeling the pull of something ancient. They'll know what it means. Aloha and mahalo, beautiful souls. You come from something ancient, and that ancient thing is still alive in you. It always has been. Until next time, ta-ta for now. Kiss, kiss.